All right, everyone. Welcome to the Swim Bros podcast. I am your host, Grant House, and the elder swim bro across the country still, Kyle House, will not be with us, but with us in spirit. And folks, I'm here today with a great podcast. We're going within the last 3 episodes. We have two Badger assistant coaches joining us. Now that's unprecedented. Never before on the Swim Bros podcast, and also never before a Brazilian on our podcast here. So in uncharted territories, and today I have Wayne State Hall of Famer joining the podcast, folks. Assistant coach for Wisconsin Badgers, spent some time in Michigan as well, and he's here with us today to join a conversation. Everyone, let's dive in and welcome Cauli Bedran. Thank you
Wow,
for joining, Cauli.
you nailed that pronunciation, Grant. Well done. That was awesome.
Yes.
Love it. Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
having me over. I am very excited to chat with you and get to know you a little bit more and kind of guide you through the path that has taken me to medicine right now.
Yeah, no, it's I'm really eager to hear it myself. I'm really excited for our listeners to get to know you better in the world of swimming, to put this out there. And like we talked a little bit about before we got on the recording. I really feel like Wisconsin is in a really amazing and unique spot right now that I actually got to experience with ASU. And I tell Matt Martinez, who was also on the podcast already, former episode, and it's really unique to like see it after experiencing it, going through it, to know like Wisconsin is on the rise. Wisconsin is growing very rapidly, and it's exciting to see all the people that are becoming a part of it, and to really understand the different invisible threads that I get to see and get to be connected with. Yourself, you already mentioned one of our new assistant coaches at ASU, Austin. You reached out and sent me a great message about him and how nice of an addition to the team he will be. He and I already connect really well. I love his energy, his passion. And then talking about Trevor Maida moving on to U of L as well. So really excited about that. And obviously our boy, Matty Martins. But I'm really excited to hear about your journey. And I'd love for you to just, talk about what it was like growing up in Brazil, if you did, and then moving into this phase of your life and how you landed at Wayne State and absolute dogged career as a Hall of Famer there in 2016, and how you ended up in Madison, Wisconsin, beautiful Madison, Wisconsin. So the mic is yours. Steer this ship and let us learn a little bit about you.
You just asked me 37 years of life experience to answer you. I love it.
Beautiful.
So yeah, I grew up on a city right north of Rio. The town is called Niterói. Town for Rio standards, right, has over 1 million people living in there, and it was awesome. My mom still lives in the apartment that I grew up, which is about a 5-minute walk to the bay, to the Guanabara Bay. And I love my upbringing. I took my family back to Brazil in December. Was able to see all my loved ones. My mom's mom, my grandma, turned 94 this June. So I have 2.5-year-old twins, so I was able to bring them back, take a bunch of pictures with her, and it was an awesome time. But yeah, man, I grew up. I swam in one of the biggest soccer clubs in Rio called Flamengo, which is the team that I cheer for. So it was really good to have that experience. And you talk about Wayne State. I kind of got to a time in my life in Brazil that I kind of plateaued, wasn't really getting better. And a friend of mine kind of reached out. He was going to Wayne State and said, "Hey, you want to come? We kind of have a spot for you." And I said, "Yeah, let's go." And it was probably one of my best, I would say, the best decision that I take at that up to that point. Second one was marrying my wife, but going to Wayne State when I did was awesome because really kind of opened um, a very different opportunity, right? Like I grew up at a very big city that I would commute sometimes an hour and a half to go to practice. Now I'm living on campus and I'm walking 15 minutes to get to the pool, right? And on Tuesday night, I have a volleyball game. On Wednesday night, I have a basketball game. On Saturday, you have a football game. And granted, Wayne State is in the heart of Midtown Detroit. It is a Division II school, but I love my time there. It was awesome. The team was competitive at the Division II level. We were top three at NCAA's 3 out of the 4 years. We won 2 conference championships, and Yeah, I would do it all over again. I would go right back to downtown to Midtown Detroit and go like Sean Peters, my head coach, is still the head coach there. He's a CSCAA 100. So I was very lucky to get great mentorship from being a student athlete all the way through. Graduated in 2010, and I started grad school right away. And I told Sean, I say, hey man, I'm going to be here going to grad school, so can I help coaching? And he let me in. Uh, and he did. He pretty much said, "Here, I have like these three really good sprinters, and why don't you take him? And I'm gonna go over there deal with the rest of the team." And I was like, "Whoa, I never done this. Like, are you sure you want me to do it?" I said, "No, yeah." And it was the first time that I kind of reflecting on it now, because I remember sitting with those three people and telling them like, "Guys, I never done this. I have no idea, but." If you trust me and we can do this together, we can do a lot of great things together, right? And the NCAA's in 2011, those three people, they broke, I think, 5 or 6 individual NCAA Division II records, and that was awesome, right? That was incredible. And I ended up coaching at Wayne State for 6 years. Um, met my wife in that process.
All right. Technical difficulties, but we're back now. Hopefully we fixed it. We'll see. But continuing on the train and the journey. It's really interesting to me that, reading a little bit more about you, learning about you as well, from what you had to say. My brother, he went to Purdue for a year and a half and transferred out and was actually looking at Drury, and Wayne State was one of the options that came up. I remember hearing that. And he went to Queen's University, which is another
Oh,
Division II school.
Jeff Dugdale, love that
Yeah,
man. He's incredible. Yeah.
love that man. Love that man. So it's always interesting. A lot of people, a lot of athletes, especially, think like it's D1 or bust. A lot of
Mhm.
star athletes, and that's really not the case at all. And you can have an astounding career just like you did at Wayne State as an athlete and also as a coach too. But it's really neat to connect these dots and see these threads tie together at some point, whether it's not immediately or meeting someone later in life and understanding what other aspects really connect with one another.
Yeah, and swimming is such a small world. That's the bottom line. And I agree with you. Um, I think we got to do a better job educating the young swimmers of this country and of the world, because I love my time in Division Two. I did. And the cool thing about the American collegiate system, Grant, is there's a home for everybody, right? And it is like we as coaches, you know, I see our job as identifying the right humans that will fit our programs, right? So, like, we are in Madison, one of the best public institutions in the world. We got to bring people in that are very interested in their academics, that will fit with the team culture that Yuri's been fostering since he's gotten here. But that is not for everyone, and that's okay. And I'm okay with it. And the prospects should be okay with that as well. The beauty is that you have 3 divisions across the NCAA. You have like we are a not a college town, we are a college city, like Christy King says, our associate head coach, right? Like we're the capital of the state of Wisconsin. There are incredible institutions. They are very rural. There are incredible institutions that are very urban. And hopefully, each athlete will find a place that's going to make them the most successful, right? And these 4 years, or maybe 5, if you got the COVID year, or if you're somebody like you that's been in college for like 10 years, like is finding the place where you're going to be successful in and out of the water, right? Like we want to produce world-class athletes here in Madison, but we also want to make sure that we send these people out in the world. They're going to be successful in what they're doing, right? We don't want to send people there winning an Olympic gold medal, but then they don't know what they're going to do with their lives after they leave campus, right? We want to produce, or we want to produce. We don't produce anything, but like we want to help these young men and these young women to find their passion and to pursue their passion, especially after, right? Because I mean, I'm a swimmer. You're going to be a swimmer at some point, and then what, right? Like the former women's volleyball coach in Minnesota, he used to say like we got to stop producing human doings and start producing human beings. I love that line. right? That's exactly what we want. And I think that human beings can be very productive in high pressure performance points. But are they going to be able to have a fulfilling life afterwards? I think that's our real job.
Yeah. No, that's an incredibly powerful sentiment and quote there. And creating human beings instead of human doings. And a lot of people just really like to get into the system of just plug and chug. And athletes really get into that framework of like, I'll just yes sir, no ma'am, yes ma'am, whatever it is, and just kind of keep going. But I really think in the situation where 18, 17-year-olds are really signing this contract to go be with the school for ideally 4 years. Sometimes it's not
Mhm.
always that, but with the foresight of 4 years, I've yet to meet an athlete that has a plan of going to a college for 1 year and then immediately leaving.
Yeah.
Um,
How many times I make a phone call? Yeah, coach, I'll be there for a year, and then I'll plan to get out of there. No,
Yeah,
no,
I'm
no.
sure that's every coach's dream to hear in the NCAA. But that's an incredible sentiment. It makes me think, was for you, Cauli, was there any difference and change of, how you framed yourself from that initial interaction with those Wayne State sprinters, those three sprinters? Because Herbie had a very, very similar startup as well with a sprint group as well. He was actually on the team still, and he took over the sprint training for the team. But when
Yeah.
you became from that moment to when you became a father of your own children and then going back onto the pool deck and going back into coaching, did fatherhood change your dynamic of being a coach at all?
Yes, big time, big time. And I don't want to get ahead of myself, but yes, it does because being a parent is the hardest coaching job anybody can have because they don't listen, they don't want to listen, and you gotta put them to bed at some point during the day. And shout out to my wife Lauren, who is now doing all of that by herself for an entire year. But yes, you do, and I think. Um, a couple experience that I've had, right? At Wayne State at the tail end of my time as a coach there, right? Like 4 years as a college athlete, I'm very proud of being a Wayne State Warrior. I think that I really helped Sean in that program. Kind of my freshman year was the first time that team was a top three finisher, right? And that was awesome. And in my junior year, we were second place with a mathematical chance to win the meet at the last relay. I thought that was really cool. Um, but honestly, it was when I was at Olivet College that I had the first switch, and I was the father of a newborn, right? So Mila was born in June 2015, and I was at Olivet College on the 16-17 season, right? And it was January 2017, and there were a couple of guys on the team that came to the office and said, "Dude, team hates your guts. Everybody's hating swimming. Um, you know, you may not have a team to go to MIAA's the conference." And I that really took me back. And that was for the first time that I realized that I didn't recruit any of these people. It is not their job to meet me where I'm at, but it's my job to meet where they are at right now. Now,
Wow.
as the program builds and you start bringing your own recruits, you start setting your own standard. But I think there's a very important piece of meeting people where they're at, and is our job as coaches to attract the people that have the same goals as we have for the program, right? And that was a very good wake up call for me, and I realized that like they are not serving me, I am serving them, and that was very good. That was an incredible wake up call for me, and I feel like as every young coach, you want to coach at the highest level. You want to see if you can help the best athletes get better.
Third time's a charm. We've
We all hope.
upgraded. We've switched over. We've switched over. So we're gonna persevere on. Bear Grylls says it: improvise, adapt, overcome, and
There we go.
that's
Tell you
certainly what
what,
we're doing.
Chris Plum says that your best ability is availability, right? So here we go. Here
There
we
we
go.
go. Chris Plum, that'd be another great guest on the podcast. That might be
Oh my God, you definitely should go after him. He is incredible, absolutely incredible. I've
previous.
had a privilege. Yeah, I've had a chance to work with some of the Carmel kids so far, right? And they are awesome. They are awesome. Trying to, keep bringing some Carmel kids here to Madison.
Yeah, that's incredible. Very, very smart tactic, very smart move. We have one that just joined our team. Her name's Vivian.
Yeah.
Great gal. Really excited for her progression as she just joined as a freshman, and then actually Drew Kibler's out here. So
Oh yeah. You guys
Carmel.
are pulling all the stops. I saw the page managers now there with you guys too.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, we have
you
a
guys gonna have like a full 50-meter lane all with the pros, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it's the first 4 weeks of the season thus far, we've actually had just pro dedicated practices.
Oh
And
yeah,
then
I
now,
believe you.
yeah, slightly merging them integrate into our groups. Kind of
Nice.
get that general adaptation phase. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of crazy. The first time I joined the pro group full time here,
Mhm.
we had like 8 or so and early in the summer, and then now in the spring when we had our first pro session, it was 14 or 15 people. It was incredible. Very unique opportunity, very cool, very intense and uplifting environment, and I love it. As someone who thrives on competition and competitiveness, especially in training, I really enjoyed it a lot. And so that's a great segue as well to a topic. While your time at Michigan and then also now at Wisconsin, what does the pro dynamic look elsewhere? I kind of described what it looks like
Cool.
at ASU, but for you at Michigan and then also Wisconsin, what's that look like?
That's fascinating. Here in Wisconsin, we have Vita, right?
Hmm.
And she is amazing.
Yeah,
She can work, she can train. It's not surprising that she has one NCAA that she goes and she dominates at the World Cup circuit, right? Like it is absolutely incredible. A true athlete, right? That's it. And just happy to get to know her a little bit. But my time in Michigan, Mike had made a decision to kind of limit a little bit the number of pros, right? So we didn't have a whole lot of them. But the one they decided to join us before the world came to a halt in February 2020 was Tony Irvin. And I tell you what, watching him, and Mike came and said, "Hey, Tony is coming to visit, blah, blah, blah." And we chatted a little bit. And then Trick's like, "Yeah, he's going to be here until the trials because he just wants to kind of finish it off on a high note." Like, wait a second, you're telling me that I'm going to have to work with Anthony Irvin? Is that real? Right? It's the first time that I work. First of all, first time somebody working with somebody that is older than I am, which is an incredible opportunity. And then, arguably one of, if not the GOAT sprinter, right? Like, come on, you win a gold in 2000, and then you win again in 2016 in the 50 freestyle. That is remarkable, right? And
yeah,
but the crazy thing, like we're talking about, getting to know Anthony, getting to know the dude, the person, that is way more exciting than the two-time Olympic gold medalist, right? So we didn't have a lot of pros at Michigan, right? But going to breakfast on Thursday after Thursday morning practice with Anthony until the world shut down, it was probably an incredible experience, right? Like just like I talked about Mike Bottom, right, a little bit ago. It's like first thing you see somebody like Anthony Irving walking on deck, like, great. What can I tell to this man that is going to help him out, right? But then you learn that he is the hungriest person in the water that wants feedback, that he wants to learn, and he is willing to try something that he never tried before because he's so attuned to his body and he knows what works well, what doesn't work well for him, that he knows what he can try. And that was really, really cool, right? But then most recently, the only pro that we had was Tommy Cope, which was a former captain. He's a great dude too, right? Like
yeah.
he can work. So but here, like Abira she's going to be with us at least through trials and hopefully a little bit more, for the games and a little bit beyond. But I never had the opportunity to work with a big pro group, like the big Michigan pro group, kind of halted after the Rio Olympics, right? Had very successful. I think they put kind of a dozen people at the games out there. It was awesome from all over the world. But I haven't had it. Maybe, like, I don't know, maybe Yuri will want to put a group together here. I'm not opposed to it. I think it's awesome because, once you guys become pros, like we were talking a little bit ago, right, Grant? It's about having that conversation, man. Like, I cannot tell it. I cannot tell you that I know your body better than you do. And I don't know even the people that I'm working with right now. So having, like, even working with younger student athletes to kind of, hey, know your body. You can show up here every single day of the season and put 85% of effort every single day. Guess what? That's going to be physically taxing, mentally taxing,
and not even close to be enough to get you to the goals that you want to do, right? So let's talk about it. Let's realize what is 100%. Working with the sprinters here, having the conversation, like math doesn't lie. It doesn't lie. You want to tell me that you want to go 18 on the 50 free side, but you're coming back to a 10 point, that's a no-go. Sorry, man, the math doesn't add up. So helping people figure out how their body feels, like how to get to that 100%. I think that is very, very important nowadays as a swim coach, and I think as a coach of any sport, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think that's a great aspect you spoke on there, and it's something that I really touched base with, and I talked personally with Matt Martinez about it at Irvine, but also on the podcast of like really relating, building that personal connection, and talking to the athlete, really letting the athlete lead and the coach guiding. Really, you had the outline and being that mentor, being that guide for them, and it's really interesting to have that dynamic. There we go. There we go. I guess I got to add that to the bookshelf now.
This is a nice hockey book, but yes, very good about a high school hockey team and outside of in Ann Arbor. Yeah,
beautiful.
Let them be. Yeah,
yeah.
I know, right?
It's awesome to hear. It's awesome to see that. I feel like I've had that a lot, fortunately, in my athletic career, my swimming career as well, and really, working with the athlete and having them tell you where they're at. Because like you said, at that first junction, when those athletes came to you and said, we don't want to do this. The team doesn't like this. Like, you had a very, very definitive stopping point there to say, I can either accept this and acknowledge that, take some ownership and, move this path to meet them, or I'm just going to tell these people they're wrong and their opinion doesn't matter, basically, and just keep on this path. And you didn't choose that path. You took the ownership and the acceptance and moved into what's going to help them the most. Because Coach Bowman talked to me about this all the time. He's like, when you get here, like, we had this vision together of creating this national powerhouse team that we are finally able to achieve. And he's like, the first 2 years, first 3 years, he's like, there will be people on this team that you might not align with. And he's like, there's going to be people that were here before me. And it's just going to have father time will be your best teammate in some of these regards. And it's just a natural process of, Coach Bowman had to work with so many individuals those first couple of years that weren't the people he brought in. And that was such a powerful testament to, you could literally tangibly see the NCAA, the Pac-12 results, to when, like you said, math doesn't lie, like the scoreboard and times don't lie either, to when he finally had full classes, full 4-year spans of all the people that were people that he recruited finally. And that people,
and that was a 6-year cycle, right, Grant? Because we're recruiting juniors. So for me to graduate, and I don't even think I'm recruiting the 25s all that much, because I came in kind of with the boat kind of sailing already. And dude, Matt Martinez, that dude is a boss, right? Like,
yes.
Trevor went to Louisville, I came, and him, Yuri, and Caleb, like these 3 dudes were able to bring a stout guest setup for our visits. And it's awesome to see how dedicated the staff is to recruiting. Just like you're saying, this is a 6-year cycle now, right? And now it is our job of the assistant coaches here at UW-Madison to bring the people they align with the vision, right? With the performance level that we are looking for. And it is all very exciting. It is very exciting. And at the same time, like you just said, not about just bringing human doings. You got to bring the human beings that want to develop as well, right? And we have an incredible roster on the team right now. But of course, we're at a conference where at one point, Arizona was the last program to win men and women on the same year in 2011, right? And now you have a conference with Cal and Stanford, and you guys are right there about to win the conference, right? And we are in the Big Ten, where Michigan, Indiana, Ohio State, they have done well. Now is our turn to go up there and start bugging those programs and bringing the classes in to be competitive. We've been winning conference titles, we've been winning relay titles, but we want to win a conference championship, right? We want to poke our head into the top 10 at NCAAs. We want to poke our head in, hopefully in a couple of years, bring a big trophy home. And I think that's really, really cool. And you got to build, man. I was telling the guys we call the short group here in Madison, like, guys, like Rome was not built in a day, right? Like we gotta wait. Like you said, father time is going to be your best teammate, right? And it is constant effort all the time. You cannot stop. You gotta keep going at it.
Yeah, it's really an a unique aspect, especially for the athletes, that you're work coming into work with, like Andrew Benson, Jake Newmark, like
Yeah.
these guys are creating something that unfortunately they might not to tangibly get to be a part of at its greatest peak, in the future, but
Mm-hmm.
they are the foundational pieces. Without them, it wouldn't be possible in a couple of years. And I think that's so empowering for the people on the team now and so
Yeah.
invigorating and such a energy to drive forward. And especially with two mentors and coaches like yourself and Matt to really meet the athlete where they're at. Cause you could come in here with your own agenda. This is what I've done at Wayne State, BGSU, and this is what I've done at Michigan. Like, we're going to do it this way. And that's not why Yuri brought you in there. He brought you in there to be
No.
cohesive and to uplift the whole program for where they're at.
Yeah, and isn't that the most exciting thing?
Yeah.
And you're growing, right? Like, and as you go from stop to stop, of course, you're learning, you're changing, you're evolving, right? And you want to be here to them. You talk about Andrew Benson. I just had a chat with him. He's on the short group, right? Jake is not, but Andrew is. And he told me one of the goals. I'm not going to share the goal, but I told him, like, so you're telling me this is your goal? I said, yes. Okay. I'm going to have to coach you to that kind of standard. Are you ready for it? And I said, yes.
Yes.
And
I
I
love
go,
that.
it's not going to be fun. I'm going to be annoying. I'm going to be hard. But if you were telling me that this is your goal, because that's not my goal, Andrew. If you're telling me that you have this goal, I will coach you to that standard. And if you tell me at one point that you're no longer interested on that standard, we can have that conversation. But you are telling me that's what you want. That's not what I want. I'm not here to coach you to do what I want. I'm here to help you achieve what you want. And he said, I want that. So let's go, man. Let's do it. I'm excited. That's what we're here for, right? We're here to take you where you want to go. And like we were talking about at the practice today. So guys, Yuri can write the best written practice in the world today. And that is going to mean jack squat if you guys do not do exactly what you're asked to do. On the other hand, I can write a math workout on a piece of paper today, but you guys go out there and you perform the best practice today in the world. And if you come in and if you do that every single day, if you pick up the piece of paper and you know, how can I finish this? But how can I make this better? How am I going to become the best I can become today from what is given to me? That's when magic happens, isn't it? So, Andrew gave me his goal. I said, all right, man, I'll coach you to that one. And if that's what you want, let's go.
Yeah.
And that's very exciting.
That's awesome. I love Andrew Benson. I'm glad I get to race him and getting to know him a little bit. Even if it's just a couple different flavors here and there, but no, that's awesome. I think that's a huge testament. I think I've talked about it with coaches before, and as I've stepped forward in my career, I've definitely realized the belief and the belonging and the buy-in. I think those would be the three B words I think of for athletes when they look at a program or a system or a plan. Like you said, the best plan isn't always what's going to happen. Yeah, you can have a perfect outline, but there's always going to be something that you have to say, what should I plan for it to go wrong? And what should I be ready to adapt to? And I think a lot of people get caught up in this perfect plan, but really it's, a poorly written plan that is completely bought into by the athletes is still going to perform better than the perfect plan that no one likes, no one wants to do, and no one has any buy-in towards. That they just they're negligent to do it every day, and they don't want to go to practice. And it's a crazy concept for some people, but once you see it, it's so easy to understand. Once you feel it, like you tangibly feel it, it's so easy.
You can feel that vibe, right? And I think that is honestly that's something that was when you recall, and I had a chance to have a chat with Jenna and Matt. I said, guys, like I can feel the vibe of the team. I can feel the way you guys talk to the student athletes, the way the student athletes are listening to you guys. And that means a lot. Like buy-in, you talked about buy-in. I think that's important. I feel like for a long time in high performance sports, Grant, It was like you said, right? Like shut up and dribble, right? Like here's your workout, you're gonna do it, and this is the gospel that you're gonna read and you're gonna live by and you're gonna die by, and this is it. And I don't think that that works nowadays with the current student athletes that we have, right? It is buy-in is everything. Now, the knowledge, the X's and O's is the entry ticket to the party. It's not the party itself. That just gets you here, right? Like, and now what are you going to do with it? I always believe that if I ever have to tell a student athlete or a swimmer, do you know what I've done before you? I already lost the argument because it doesn't matter, dude. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I've done because the people that I'm working with now are not the people that I worked with before, right? So it doesn't matter. What worked for you doesn't work for Andrew, and what works for Andrew doesn't work for you, right? Some things may, but some things won't. And the most exciting part of coaching is to learn what made these people tick, right? And I think that is really, really cool. It is honestly what gets me going. Like I've been doing this for 13 years, and I talk to my neighbors, and I go like, dude, I wish I talked about my work the way you talk about yours. I never talked about my job the way you talk about your job. So yeah, so I don't have a job, man. I don't have a job. It just people ask me to do the stuff that I love to do, and that's awesome. Yeah. I did it for free in Michigan for 3 years, for God's sake, right? Like I can literally do this stuff for free. I'm glad I don't anymore, but I did.
Yeah, no, that was a huge sentiment that I was listening to Trevor Maida about on the last podcast coming out on Wednesday. We're recording this on Monday night, but in a couple days. But he was talking to me that he's like, yeah, I was staying in someone's basement. I was living out of the back of my truck. He's like, I just love this. He's like, I would literally go to camps to learn from people. Like I think he went to camp at Texas A&M where he went to 6 a.m. practice, did the camp, went to afternoon practice, came back again later in the night and did the camp again with the Aggies from camp, and then his day was over. And I was like, dude, that's continuously like 4 days and then repetitively doing different camps throughout the year. And I was like, that's a lot of stamina you have to have.
Well, but when you're having fun, it's hard to get tired, right? Your body gets tired, but your mind is active, right? I had a different experience. I was married. My wife is the breadwinner in the family, so like I could go back and forth, living in my own house very comfortably, thank God. But what Trevor did, I did too, right? Like I went all the way to LA to do camp with Salo at Southern Cal. I went all the way to Raleigh to do camp with Braden, right? And I worked at Michigan camps before I was ever on the staff there. And I actually met Trevor doing Michigan camp right before I went to Bowling Green, right? And then we were doing the mid-season meet at the Akron pool. And there he is, like this undergraduate coach from St. Bonaventure, and I'm the assistant coach at Bowling Green. And we were hanging out because we met at the Michigan swim camp, right? And I think, and Trevor, I think one of the excerpts that you put out there, like that networking is absolutely critical, right? When I was at Wayne State and I said, okay, it's time for me to go try something new, I started applying to everything under the sun and got no emails back. And then I talked to Peter Lynn, which I think is one of the greatest coaches of our sport, right? He was at Eastern Michigan back in the day. And I thought, Peter, like, what am I doing? Like, I feel like I get good results and this. I was like, oh, nobody knows you. Nobody's going to hire you. People need to know who you are to want to work with you beforehand. So don't worry about it. You're going to have to apply to 150 places before you get an email say, thank you, no thank you, right? And this is it. And you got to know people. People have to feel comfortable around you. I think we kind of overlook the ability of head coaches to manage people, right? Both in the staff and in the roster. It is an absolutely critical skill to have as a head coach to manage people, and for us to learn, learn from as many people as you can. Like if you go to a CSCAA convention, strike a conversation with anyone. 99% of swim coaches love talking shop, right? You today, if you're a young coach, you can get your phone, go on the roster, you can email the top 25 men and women programs at NCAAs and just ask about swimming. And I would say that about 80 to 85% of them will answer you. Not right away. We're going to say, oh, this person has a good question. I'm gonna type a quick email answer and give a few pointers. I feel like, like American swimming is one of the best in the world in sharing. And I know very few people that don't share anything that they do. Right. So like knowledge is there, is available for us to go grab it.
Yeah. No, I think it's a commonality we're hearing in this episode and this time with you, Cauli, is, like the best at whatever they do, the best coaches, the best athletes, like Anthony Irvin, the best coaches, Mike Bottom. They're sponges. They want to absorb as much knowledge as they can, and they want to extract, maybe what doesn't work for them, but retain everything else that they have. And I think that's such a powerful sentiment to be able to be around all these people, like Trevor talked about, like you talked about, exchanging information, talking with people. Like Trevor came out to ASU for a week to learn and discuss things with Herbie. Like that was super cool. That's how I met him, and that's how I gained all my respect for him, is because that was my biggest interaction with him. And I think it's such a big tool, like you hit on too, with the coaches, the head coaches especially, is one of the biggest things I'd say as a leader that I've learned from Coach Dugdale, Jeff Dugdale at Queens,
Yeah.
and also Coach Bowman, just watching him. But especially Coach Dugdale, watching him from afar, like growing up and coaching my brother, then being recruited by him, and then also spending time with him now over these several years. And it's really about the head coach. The best head coaches aren't the ones that have the best exact plan, the exact workouts for every single person on the team, I believe. They're the best people who can delegate. They're the people who can find the Matt Martinez's, the Caulis, the Trevors, and they know that they're going to fit into their program really well, and then they're going to coach those groups better than they even can, and do it really well to such a high caliber that it's going to raise up the entire program. And with a program so historic as Michigan, and going into with that realm of learning from these great influences, great environments, what would you say is, it doesn't have to be one, but what is the biggest thing or the biggest things that you learned from your time in Ann Arbor at Michigan?
Wow. That's a good one. That's a good one. Because, I'm still in touch with those guys, right? I still talk to Josh. I talk to Sam. I talk to Mike, right? I chat with Priscilla every now and again. But I think the one thing that Mike has told me, and it really stuck with me, right? It was as soon as I got there to be a volunteer assistant on the program, he told me, like, listen, you're going to work with a group of people, and it's naturally all humans. You're going to get possessive, right? Like you're going to call them your athletes. And to this day, I make such a concerted effort to call the group that I work with, right? I don't have my own athletes. I have the opportunity to work with people. And Mike said, those are not your athletes, and those are not my athletes. Those are Michigan athletes. And that to me was very powerful, right? Because, that's true, man. When you have, of course, you have your league groups. When you have a concerted effort to build a team around it, that's very important. And when that leadership comes from the top to the coaches, to the student athletes, I think that was like a very, very, very powerful thing that Mike taught me. Like, they're not yours, they're not mine, they're Michigan's. And I thought that was really cool, right? I mean, that was one of a million things that man has taught me, and I know that he's got more to teach me in the coming months and years. And as soon as much as he's willing to pick up on the phone and talk to me, I'm glad to have a chat with him and learn more from him.
Yeah. No, I think that's an amazing sentiment here. The men of Michigan. I always enjoy Bob's discussions about it, because his first initiative when he was at Michigan was just retaining this legacy, like to just build this legacy in this environment, and just to understand what that school had accomplished before and how important that was. It wasn't Bob Bowman's career. It wasn't this. It was like, no, you're the coach at Michigan now. You're not the specific coach at this group. Like, you are here to be a coach at Michigan for this program and nothing else. Like, you are with them, not the main person. I think that's such an aspect that a lot of coaches can just swallow their ego, put their ego aside, and just say, like you and Matt do a lot, and that you have brought up several times on this podcast now, is really, what can I do for the athletes, and really extending that honesty too. I think I've seen this a lot from Herbie to, there's so many times, and it, frankly, to be honest, it frustrates me sometimes, but I appreciate the honesty at different times where I'm like, Herbie, what can I do better? And he's like, I'm gonna need like a day or something. He's like, that looked pretty good. It's just like when you're getting to such small margins at the top end of the sport, it's so hard to find something initially, and you need that honesty though, and it's real. It's not like he's just a robot. It's not like he's just and I also know and I retain that he's not just blowing smoke at me. Like when he's telling me something I need to fix or check on or reevaluate, he's really spending a lot of time with that. And the sentiment that you and both Matt said is, I might not have all this figured out, but dang it, I'm going to give you 100 of my percentage and 100% of my passion to make sure we get you in the best possible spot and improve you as much as humanly possible to do it. Cause I will die before we do that. And just making sure that we are maximizing and optimizing our time here. And that's something that I've really felt from Bob and Herbie, but also just hear the echoes from you and Matt too, of how open and honest you are. Cause I think we all maybe want to hear, oh, I have this perfect plan come in, but as time and time goes
I'd be
by,
very wary if anybody ever
yes,
tells you that, to be honest.
exactly. It becomes more and more wary as time goes on now. And I think it's just so much more authentic and so much more that sense of belonging, that buy-in that we talked about earlier, when your coach is honest with you and real with you and also together with you on the journey, not on a higher pedestal. Obviously, like a respect a dynamic exists. I always think should have exist, but like we're going through this together. We're learning together, and help me help you, give and take, and we'll go forward as best we can. I think that's just incredible.
Yes, and the great thing for me now, Grant, is that I'm going through the beginnings of the process that we were talking about here at UW Madison, right? Like, yeah, I'm at with Andrew. I'm going to meet with a bunch of people this week, and really the bottom line is I need to know you guys. I have a fairly good idea of what we can do to get better, but I need to know you to help you get where you want to go, and I think that's a very, very important piece of it. And yeah, and the other point that you talked about is I cannot guarantee you're going to swim well. And I'm very honest. Like, hey, you can have the best training season of your career, and you can have explosive diarrhea the morning of your prelim swim. And I'm sorry, like it may happen. Accidents happen, right? Like a goggle may break. Like Max stop Pac-12 where somebody could change a suit, right? Like things like that happen, right? Like we're trying to prepare yourself for things that you don't know that can happen, but I cannot look at anybody in the face and like you do this and that and you are going to get the outcome. We don't, right? Like we don't. Like I'm a little bit of a nerd and I like to equate performance like a scientific study, right? So you control your independent variables, which are your training, your practices, your sleep, and you do not control the dependent variable. That is your performance. As a matter of fact, if you try to control the dependent variable, that study is invalid, doesn't count, right? You cannot have that. So, I find that so interesting because you can do everything right, and that does not guarantee an outcome. Increase your odds 100%, it does, and increase your confidence in your ability to execute that, but it doesn't guarantee you anything. And that's why I think a lot of the things we were talking tonight, Grant, is about like process-oriented goals instead of outcome goals, right? Like, who do you become on this journey? What are you going to learn for yourself? Like, do we all want to go lifetime best on everything that we swim at Big Tens and then go even faster in NCAAs and get a second or third swim at trials? Yeah, everybody under the sun wants to do that, especially this calendar year, right? But who's going to do that? Who is willing to wake up when it's snowy in Madison to do that? Who is going to do the best that they can when they don't feel like it? Who is going to pass on the ice cream for dessert and eat an apple for dessert because you know that is what's best for you then? Who's going to put their phone away an hour before they go to bed so your brain can start to slow down so you can get the rest that you need? I promise you, right? You probably had a lot of teammates that woke up the day of Pac-12 and they say, "Oh, I want to break a world record to this." Yeah, good for you. You haven't. I don't think you're ready to make a final here, but that is good. And I think that's our. I think our job as swim coaches is to show them the value of those process-oriented goals, the value of those daily wins, the value of accomplishing things when you don't feel like it, pushing through a day that you're like, oh, I'm tired, but like, I gotta come in and I gotta do this. I think that's very important.
Yeah, those small wins. I think that's huge. This summer I definitely faced a good amount of adversity with drive and motivation for the first time that I'd ever encountered, being a very type A person, very driven person. And I know when I was starting out this next phase, this next chapter after the summer, my brother had sent me something. He's like, just remember the small wins along the way. Like, I think that's just really important for you. And so every day at 7 p.m., I have a reminder on my phone that just says, it's in quotes, just remember the small wins, Grant, big bro. And it's so impactful. I like literally will just stop, look at it, smile, remind me of my older brother. But then like almost every night in the last 3 weeks, especially, I've journaled something, gratitude. I do a lot of gratitude affirmations and just getting my thoughts out on paper. But something I've really started doing is just jotting down, like, what did I view as a win, a personal win for me? Was it like mental fortitude? Was it positivity? Was it outlook? Was it technical? Was it swimming related? Was it cooking? Like something like some aspect that I felt accomplished in that no one else is going to see. It's going to be for me. It's going to be in my journal, my notebook, but something that I can go and rest my head on at the end of the day and say, hey, like this is the list of wins. Now we're going to go into tomorrow with 6 wins, 4 wins, 10 wins. And that's a lot of momentum. You do that every day of the year, you have over 3,000 wins that you can look back on. And, and then the practices are their own sentiments as well, too, for that. So I love the marginal gains. I love the 1% better every day. I love that stuff. That's what drives me to be better every day, because looking at the end goal, looking at the final achievement or the outcome, that's just so daunting sometimes. It's like so daunting. But if you break it down, it's like we saw on the paper, I think earlier this week, NCAA is 200 days away. I think that was like last Thursday or Friday or something like that. And it's like, wow, that's crazy. But then I went to weight training the after the session that day, and I was kind of walking around and I was like, it always goes by so fast. Like the next time you look at the paper and it really like hits you, it'll be like 40 days away. And I'm like, wow, I remember when it was 200. And it's crazy. But when you spend so much time being present with those chunks of the individual parts, the rest of it takes care of itself more times than not, I feel.
Yeah, because what I hear you saying there, Quinn, is that when you look, okay, NCAAs, this is the end goal or nothing. It is daunting. It has the reverse effect. It's not, doesn't motivate you. It kind of can be scary, can be depressing, right? And you're talking about gratitude, and I can keep pulling books out of my shelf here, but I want to keep doing it. But there's this book from Kim Cameron from the Ross Business School in Ann Arbor that is practicing positive leadership, and he talks about the centripetal effect of gratitude. You start with yourself. You're journaling. You are acknowledging to yourself. You're putting into the world by writing the things that you've done that positively affected you that day, right? The next day you show up for practice, your vibe is different now. Like, yeah, at that point, you're not only improving yourself, but your teammates around you are going to say, what did Grant do last night that he's looking so good? Had this smile, has this speed. And okay, they're going to talk to you, right? So there you are. You are making your teammates better by doing that. Like by making yourself better, you're going to have a positive impact on the people around you. And the same thing, the reverse is also positive, right? If you have somebody that is down, that is sucking the energy out of the people, you're going to feel your energy being drained as well, right? So if you can keep doing that, that is so good. I recommend everybody to journal, right? Like every now and again, I take a few notes during the day. I'm not good at journaling myself, but I take notes and I say like, okay, today was very good because of this, this, and that, and makes you feel really good, right? Or when I call home and I see the twins running to the phone and waving, saying dad, I say no, call me papai, because I like when you speak Portuguese better, but they don't really do that yet. But it's good, right? Like it fills my day with joy. Like every day at 5:30 Eastern, I call my wife, I call my mother-in-law when she's with twins, because I'm here in Madison, but I want to see them every day. And thankfully, I've been able to do it. Hasn't been a week that I've been in Madison, but every day I'm doing this. And that is definitely something that I look forward to. I know that at 5:30 p.m., I'm going to have an incredible 15 minutes with my wife and the kids. And be here to let my wife vent about how hard the day is as a married single mother, which is, couldn't do this without her. Wouldn't be here without her, right? I'm only here because she said, we can do it. Go ahead and do it, right? Like, as a married man with a couple children, you don't make decisions for yourself, and neither by yourself, right? It's a team, man. It's team. At home, it has to be a team. And you asked me a couple minutes ago, like how becoming a father has helped me become a better coach, and become a better coach has helped me become a better father. And it is a very symbiotic relationship. And I'm telling you that you have to be a parent to be a great coach. That's not at all. But my experience has been very positively impacted for doing those two things. And yeah, it takes a lot of daily grind and checking in those little victories, man. Checking in those little victories. I'm gonna share a little bit more, but we are potty training the twins right now, right? So my wife called me the other day to tell me that Cohen, the little boy, pooped in the toilet for the first time, and I celebrated. Yes, right? Like, yes, it did it, right? Those little wins, man. Like, you gotta appreciate, and like you said, you gotta be present in that moment, right? It's not pick up the phone and, oh, okay, cool. No, you gotta take time, and that's something that Mike always talked about too. Is like, build your little monuments, like appreciate your little victories. Be there and know that that little victory that you had today can be very, very impactful later on in your swimming career and in your life as well.
Yeah, I think that's just a huge gold nugget there. I think it's really peeling back the veil on, coaches. I think a lot of times athletes look at them as, our guides, like honestly, like in a form, like our role models, are people that we look up to, like guiding us again, like we've talked about. And, to pull back that veil a little bit and show us some of your human being traits. I think is really refreshing to hear as an athlete, really unique to hear. And also, I think encouraging, invigorating for hopefully other coaches listening to this, that you need to dive in. I talked with Trevor about it, about some burnout with coaches, and you need to have those times in your day where you're scheduled and really programming your days to be like, hey, I need to call my wife and see my kids every day. That is important to me. That helps me recharge. That fills my cup, and that's so important. And I think that's a great aspect you have in the day, and that's how you build momentum, and that's how you chalk up your wins, chalk up your monuments. I love that phrase as well, and I think that's huge. I think that's such a big sentiment for athletes to find out what they need for what makes them thrive, and instead of just survive in their lives and fill their cups, and also for coaches to realize, you can't just be sitting around all day. I mean, you can be just sitting around every day, just making a workout from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., but you're probably going to get pretty fatigued of that, and your output at practice in front of other people is probably not going to be the most uplifting or energetic. So you need the time to step back, enjoy what you need to do away from swimming, and be grateful for why your life is there, and be present with that too. I think that's huge.
And that goes for everybody, right, Grant? Because not only for us coaches, but for you guys as the athletes as well. You can burn out very quickly if swimming is everything that you do, if swimmer is all of the identity that you have, right? Like swimming, and Josh White used to say something very interesting. You don't have to do swimming, we get to do swimming, right? And once you appreciate that we made a concerted choice to be here together today, we can appreciate the fact that we are all together here today. When you feel like you have to swim, you're just dragging your feet. Oh my God, everything becomes a chore. You take the enjoyment out of it. But yes, in a sense, the job is taxing. It is fatiguing. Yeah. It's hard, but it's so rewarding, right? It is so rewarding, and you can miss the rewarding parts if you don't pay attention to them, right? Like, I was actually talking to the guys today. It's like, it's not about how many times you practice, it's how many times you are present doing the things at practice. And I saw this, maybe it was a Kobe Bryant quote. I don't know, man. I get a lot of quotes on my social media feed and I love it. But it's important, right? Like you can show up to practice and not get better, or you can show up to practice and get a lot better. But yeah, and I think, props to Mike was very good with it too, working with him, and Yuri is absolutely incredible with the understanding that, we are coaches that are humans, right? Matt is going to get married next summer. and I think that Caleb is just graduated, but Christy, Jenna, Yuri, and I are all married. And we all have lives, man. And I'm not gonna lie, swimming is my passion, but it's not my priority, right?
Yeah.
My kids are my priority, right? Like last year in the fall, I remember I got a call from my wife, said, I'm taking Cohen to the hospital. He has a respiratory infection. I burst into Mike's office. He was meeting with his boss. I said, excuse me, I'm leaving, and I don't know when I come back. My son is in the hospital. I shut the door and I walked out, and I didn't come back for 3.5 days. And during that day, all that Mike did was checking in, making sure that I was okay, that Lauren was okay, and that Cohen was okay.
Wow.
And that was really cool. Yeah. Yeah.
That's so impactful. That's so impactful as a peer, a friend, a mentor, someone you look up to, just to reaffirm all those traits. And Mike down at Queens University now with Coach Dugdale.
Yeah.
Like, what a dynamic duo that is. Getting the band back together. I think they were at Auburn together.
They were.
And,
And I'm pretty sure that Mike is Jeff's best man.
Yeah. Yeah. So crazy cool dynamic there. And I think to close the chapter on the Michigan part, I want to just briefly just give I guess, imagery and understanding of how impactful this process can be. I got a message from Keenan Robinson. He's the head strength coordinator of the United States Olympic Committee, essentially, for swimming. And he was a strength trainer at Michigan as well when Coach Bowman was there. And he actually ran into someone while he was at Junior World Championships for Team USA. And his name's Alon Mandel, and he went to Michigan. He was a walk-on at Michigan and made the 2008 Olympic team. He was the last man of Michigan to win the 100 backstroke at Big Tens. And if that is a message to anyone to chase your dreams, pursue every day with excellence, and just to take those small wins, like that guy, I don't know if he had dreams of becoming an Olympian for Israel, but I think it would probably be pretty hard for anyone and their mother to believe that guy was going to be winning Big Tens by the time he was done. Going from a walk-on to being in that position does not happen without taking each step and optimizing each step and making every practice matter as much as possible. And I think that's an incredible sentiment that I hope a lot of the young listeners and everyone in their lives really takes away. I was inspired by that. I've been thinking about that since I got sent that message on Thursday last week. So it's incredible, and if you're a person with someone who's more naturally gifted, you can say, or genetically predisposed, whatever it is, whatever you want to say, that even puts you at a higher level to chase your dreams and your goals if you apply it. And it'll be a little bit teaser for one of my, I think it was lane line ratings for what we'll get to in a little bit, shortly. But there was basically a documentary on Johnny Manziel, Johnny Football. And it just talked about how, this dude was just sweating talent, just oozing talent everywhere. And he just blew it. He was overwhelmed by a lot of the situation, but he just blew it. And it was crazy to see, have a front row seat of this situation happen. I grew up through it, and I just didn't know any of these background information and story. Like I'm sure a lot of people didn't, but it was crazy to hear him talk about it and hear them interview about it. And just to see how much that talent was wasted. He still made the NFL. He still was drafted after 2 years in college and was a professional athlete. And still, there's so much left on the table, though. It's crazy. It's crazy.
And on the other end of the spectrum, right, you can hear a dude like Tom Brady. Definitely didn't have the same raw talent that Johnny Manziel did, but is now the greatest quarterback of all time, right? Yeah. Because it worked. And everybody that you talked about, that man, is all about the process, right? And I think that's interesting. That I find it very interesting. Of course, you're like, if you're not 7 foot tall, you're not going to be a center in the NBA. Don't worry about it, right? Yeah. Like you said, you got to have some sort of genetic predisposition to be the very best, but that is not all. That is not all at all, right? You're going to tell me that Phelps would be able to win 28 Olympic medals if he wasn't extremely gifted and extremely dedicated to what he was, right? And hearing what he says now, he actually came to Ann Arbor last fall, and it's very powerful, him sharing what he went through and how he doesn't recommend people doing what he did, right? And how the dark places that he had to go through, that he ended up going, not he didn't have to, but he went in his pursuit. And I think, I can be wrong, but I believe that you can have a compassionate performance, right? You can be a good human being and still be extremely competitive as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think the last question before we hop into our final segments, our fan favorite segments, is I want to hear what the biggest lesson was. We heard about it from Michigan. What was the biggest lesson you learned as an athlete and a coach? If it's different while you were at Wayne State, because that's a lot of time there. That's a lot of time of your life. And I'm sure there's many things you learned. He shared with one of us, probably one of the biggest things I felt like I learned from this is that acceptance and that ownership when those swimmers came into your office. But what are the two biggest things, one as an athlete, one as a coach, you gained while your time at Wayne State?
Oh man, I feel like Sean was the first coach that actually kind of trusted me, right, as an athlete, right? Like he at the end of my senior year, he came in and he said, "Hey man, we are getting into to go to NCs, and I don't really care what you do. I'm going to write a practice. I'm going to put up on the board, but you got to do what you feel like you need to do. Like you've been doing this long enough, and don't worry about the rest of the crew. I'll work with them and explain to them why you're not doing what they're doing, because I don't think that they are ready to hear that, but you are." So, and what he did is that he basically got the ownership of my performance at NCAA's and put squarely on my lap 2 weeks before, right? And it was like, and that was awesome because I felt trusted, I felt seen, I felt like that he got me, and to this day, I am so thankful to Sean Peters because he brought me to the States, right? And he gave me my first coaching job. So what more can I say about that man? I talk to him every now and again to this day. And when my mom come to visit me, she asks about him to this day. And I've been out of Detroit now almost 10 years, right? My last season was 15-16 there. So it's been like a long time since I've been there. But to this day, I still appreciate. But it was really, as an athlete, I like it. He taught me that he trusted me, and that was very empowering to perform really well, right? And I was able to have the best NCAA of my career my senior year. That was awesome, and the team got third, right? So that was incredible. That was really really good. And then as a coach, man, is like I talked to you, is like my success now, it is the performance success is secondary to the success of the human being that I have a chance to work with. And I am not afraid to tell that. Don't get me wrong. The goal is to put both together. Absolutely. Yeah. No doubt about it. But at the end of the day is to talk to an Olympian that you had a chance to share the pool that can hear that they are doing well, that they are happy doing whatever they are doing, that they are excited, that they are, like you were doing with your teammates, Grant, like that they are positively impacting other people's lives. And when I get a text message or a phone call from a former athlete that I worked with saying that through a hard time in life, and then they remember something that we talked about on the pool deck one day, and that helped them change their mindset and evolve and go better, like that's a win. That's a win. That's the best win that I can ask for. And I'm very proud of every time that I get those. It is awesome. Yeah.
That's incredible. That's incredible. It's so insightful to hear. It's so uplifting to hear, especially someone older than me, like constantly learning in their life. Whenever I hear these stories, it's just always invigorating. Like you said, whether you're great, whether you're good, whether you're pursuing excellence, like the process of learning can never stop. And I think it's time for our listeners to learn about Cauli's hot takes, lane line ratings, and you like that. So we're gonna start out with hot takes, and okay. I'm gonna take the lead on this because I gotta get this one out of the way. I'm a guy from Cincinnati. I was born in Cincinnati Children's Hospital. Grew up in Indiana for 15 years. So I got the Hoosier at heart, but I spent high school in Cincinnati. Went to St. Xavier, and became, I don't know why I did this, but a Cincinnati sports fan. And my hot take was the NFL just started. Detroit Lions actually had a great first game. Favorite game of the week was Detroit's game.
By far.
Dan Campbell, I would run through a wall for that man. Love the head coach. And hot take is Bengals had the worst game of week one. Unfortunately, Cincinnati Bengals, the The Giants played last night, got shut out.
The Giants got blanked last night, man.
Yeah, they got beat 40-0, and I still think the Bengals game was worse than that. I don't know if it's just because I have invested my energy and time into them, but I just got to New Jersey. I was super excited. I was really amped up for the start of the season. Joey Burrow, $271 million contract.
Highest paid athlete in the league.
Yeah, and you just come out and I don't even think they scored a touchdown. Like that was abysmal to me. So that was my hot take: is the Bengals had the worst performance in the NFL thus far. And I don't enjoy saying that. So I'm glad that you can share that with the Detroit Lions having a great performance. We have both sides.
Okay, the only Detroit Lions jersey that I have is from Joy Bell. He's actually the same class as I am on the Wayne State Hall of Fame. And, a good buddy of mine that I actually met the day before I came to Madison at a car shop. So, dude, I'll tell you what, when they went for the 4th and 2 and they didn't get it, I said, oh my God, same old Lions. They're going to find a way to lose the game, but they didn't. But I have a hot take, and I don't know if anybody has shared this with you. I believe that the NCAA should institute the 50s of strokes and the 100 IM at the NCAA meet.
Yes.
That would be such an incredible, exciting event to have. And I know this because as a student athlete, I kept telling Sean and we say, let's put the 50s and the 100s so I can help you more. Like, I'm a dead sprinter. I got to do this 100 stuff. No, give me the 50s. We can work it out. Never seen it, but I'd say you got to get the 50s of stroke and the 100 IM in there.
Oh heck yeah! I'm all about that one. I will put that on my gravestone if we can make that happen.
Let's start a petition. Let's start a petition here.
Yeah, all the listeners of the Swim Bros podcast, automatic petition sign. We know you're in support of it, obviously.
There we go.
Obviously, so we're just gonna send that through. But that would be incredible. We already have the 4x50 medley, but we need to separate those. We need to pull it out. We already moved those 2 events.
See that. It would be exciting to see that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the most exciting aspects is the 4x50 free, 4x50 medley, and the 50 freestyle. Everyone loves that excitement. And if you just replicate that 3 more times, it's going to improve everyone. And
I don't think anybody's going to be mad about it.
Yeah, as 2 sprint enthusiasts here on the podcast, maybe we have a bias, but if you improve the maximal output, everything else is going to get better too. If you always improve the aerobic side of things, not always going to bode well for a 50 swimmer, but if a miler improves their 50, the speed reserve increases. If a 200 swimmer increases their 50, the speed reserve improves. So it just bodes to say that you should go do a sprint practice, everyone. That's another lesson you should learn from this podcast. But I love that hot take. Maybe one of the best ones on all of the episodes of Swim Bros has ever had.
Yes. I'm going to let Matt Martinez know that he's not going to end the end. He's not going to hear the end of that. Just so you know.
Yeah, let him know. Maybe he'll come.
You're gonna get a text from him tonight. Still,
we'll have to do a round table. We'll get a round 2 of all these different hot takes. So that was awesome. We're gonna move on to our lane line ratings, and I teased mine earlier. It is a Netflix documentary series called Untold. Really unique. Highly recommend the entire series. But I just checked out Johnny Football, a documentary of Johnny Manziel. Really insightful. Really engaging. Really uplifting as an athlete that I believe applies myself every day when I don't necessarily, like we talked about, have to, but I really view it as get to, and really trying to, pursue my potential and pursue excellence as much as I can. And I just watched the Swamp Kings, a documentary with the Florida Gators, and it was like the exact opposite, just like all these guys working harder than you can even conceptually believe, all for this opportunity, and they didn't even reach it. I'm pretty sure like 2 of the 4 times, and just to see how crushed they were. But then the next year, just go back to work, just reapply themselves and re-up themselves. And so my lane line rating for the Untold Johnny Football would be a 9.2 out of 10. And then I gave a rating on Trevor's podcast because I'd only been to episode 1 and 2 on the Swamp Kings, but I'd say the last 2 episodes 3 and 4, both were 9.5s for the Swamp Kings as well. So I'm loving Untold. I've been a big fan of it for a while. Unfortunately, they have one about ASU basketball with the betting scandal. But so that was actually like the first one I ever saw, and I was like, I don't know about this docuseries. I'm gonna
watch this all the way through.
But that was even still good. So that's my lane line rating. Untold Johnny Football, 9.2 out of 10 lane lines.
Okay. Are you ready for mine?
Let's go.
Barbie the movie. And I'll tell,
Oh,
yeah, and here's what I'm gonna say. It was the first time in about 6 or 7 years that my wife and I went to the movies by ourselves, right?
wow.
So that alone got a bump. That got a bump because like
Huge.
I had a date with my wife and go to the movies. And actually, the movie's pretty cool, right? Like I think they have a good message, and I wholeheartedly believe that Mattel is using that to rebrand some products, but that's a conversation for another day. Uh, but I like it. But I'm going to go with a 7.4 on that one because it's good, very much worth getting out of the house and watching it. Um, but it didn't kind of blew me out of the water, right? Like
Yeah.
I think it was good, and the fact that my wife and I had to go do lunch after that, it was like a really good moment between her and I. With 3 kids, man, if you ever have kids, you're gonna realize how hard it is to do things by yourself with you and your significant other.
Yeah, no, just another wholesome accolade and an anecdotal experience for our listeners and on the podcast here. Between you, Trevor, and Matt, you guys are almost making me tear up over here. Like these wholesome moments, just guys being dudes. And I've heard like pretty similar sentiments to Barbie as well. Like it wasn't bad. It was not obviously the best movie in the world, but it was pretty good. Like it wasn't bad. Like a 7.4 you gave it. Like
Yeah,
that's pretty admirable. That's pretty
yeah.
admirable. And
Trust me, I told my wife I would, I know the movie. Not that I want to watch it. Not that I want to watch a second time, but I'd gladly go watch something like that again. Not a problem. Yeah.
yeah, gotta love and the bump date night with the wife. Love that for both of you.
Yeah.
Love that for both of you. And so that'll transition into my the last segment of the podcast is you like that.
Yeah.
Brought to us by Kirk Cousins of the Vikings. Trevor's a Vikings fan. I don't know if he'd be too pleased with the results of week 1, but
I am.
there we go. There we go. Someone's happy out of the trifecta of all three of us. So that's a win. That's a small win. But my you like that is, I today was really one of the first days where the temperature was a little bit lower in Arizona. I say lower, I say sub 110. So that was a big win for us. But
Wow.
in the morning we had a beautiful sunrise over practice outdoors, 89 degrees, and just my you like that is morning practice outside in Tempe. It's so simple, and we haven't really had like that crazy of a sunrise because the temperatures have been so high. Apparently that affects it. I don't know how or why, but that's what they tell me. And it was just beautiful. We got into our groups today, seeing some different faces, seeing some different energy, some excitement.
Nice.
And it was just beautiful. Just very simple. Just sunrise swims at Mona Plummer. Just beautiful. Beautiful.
Can be that. I haven't been there yet, but I'm hoping to make my way down and pay a visit to you guys.
Sooner than later. Sooner than later.
I mean, my you like that was when my wife called me and I watched my oldest daughter to get a hit on her softball game this afternoon. That was awesome.
Wow.
Because she got a hit, she got to first base, she turned around, and yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, that's super uplifting. I know when I was a coach at a training facility here, I coached some of the baseball players, and I went to one of their games. I was like, I got to see these guys actually perform. I can't just train them in the strength and weight room. And the amount of ups and downs I went like sitting on the bleachers, I was like, dude, you're not a dad. You don't you just coach these guys for like 6 months. Calm down. But especially as a father and to see her succeed like that, gotta be just so uplifting.
Oh yeah,
so
it was awesome. And just Will Roberts, he was a Michigan grad, and then he went to do his master's at Cal.
Yeah,
he coached Little League baseball in Ann Arbor for
That's
a couple of years. Okay, shout out to Will Roberts. I love that man. I hope he's doing well. But yeah, man, it was cool because my wife called and was just in time, and made contact, got to the base. That's all it takes.
beautiful.
She got tagged out before getting for second, but she wasn't even upset. She was high-fiving her friends. It's all good.
Yeah.
Right? I told her, hey, you did everything right. You hit the ball, you ran to first. Your teammate hit the ball, you ran to second. The ball got there before you, but you did everything right, and that was awesome. So
control the controllables.
Right? Yeah, exactly, man. That's what you got to do.
You mentioning Will Roberts actually reminds me of one of my newest teammates, Cam Peel.
Yeah, Cam Peel is there. I know. I texted him the other day to tell him, hey, you guys got Austin. He's great. So that's what I talked to.
Heck
He
yeah.
was awesome. Working with Kim for 4 years. A Michigan boy, right on the west side of the state. You know, love working with him. His parents are awesome. His dad is awesome. Comes to all the meets and is a great supporter as well. I know, man. I hope that he's going to do well for you guys. I'm excited to see what Mr. Campbell can do at Tempe. Yeah,
Heck
I
yeah.
know.
I'm super excited.
Yeah, you look around like the guys that I got to share the pool that in Ann Arbor, like have been doing really well in their 5th years, right? You see, like Will had a great year at Cal, Pat had a great year at Cal, like Bora left Michigan had a great year at Cal, and then Will Chen went to Texas, did well. You know, Eric Storms went to Mizzou, did well. Mason Hunter went to NC State, became an NCAA record holder, right? And that was really cool. It's awesome. Like I said, it is really cool to see. And Victoria Kwan went to South Carolina. Maggie went to LSU, right? Now Megan Glass is at Notre Dame. They're coming to Madison in a little bit. That's going to be
Heck
fun. Yeah. I think it's awesome, right? Like this COVID year is allowing us to see these people growing and going to do their thing out and about, and that is awesome. And I'm happy that Cam decided to go to you guys. I think that you guys are going to do great things together, because I know that he was looking at Hope, right? Like he was looking to go to Division III school as well, but he decided to go to you guys, and I'm excited. I'm very excited for him.
Yeah, I was trying to reel that guy in like crazy. I was super stoked that he was coming out here. I was pulling out every recruiting thing I could do. I think I got on like 7 FaceTimes with the guy maybe. And I think I called him like halfway through a front 9 one time when he was on the golf course. Just talking shop, connecting, getting to know him a little bit better, answering him. And yeah, he's awesome. And fortunately he's out here with the program I was in for master's degree, sports law and business. So really unique opportunity. Cool. And I'm really excited to see him. I do have to admit, I actually, this is very bizarre, but in my mind, I don't know why I didn't envision him being like a bigger guy, but I just envisioned him being like a short king, like maybe like 5'10" or 5'11". And
he's like 6'5".
He's a big dude. He is a towering individual. And I saw him the first day, I was like, you're not Cam Peel. Like, no way. Like Cam Peel's supposed to be like way shorter than me. And I'm like looking eye level to this guy. I'm like, holy crap, this is awesome. This is going to go even better now. So super excited to have him. And just again, like we've seen a lot of connections in this episode. We've heard a lot about it, but
it's a small world, man. It's a small world.
So unique. So cool always to hear that. But Cauli, I am so glad that you came on here. We persevered through all the struggles.
Right? After the third time, it was a charm. We made it work. We got through it, man. So thanks for having me. Again, Matt Martinez, right? He's the man that makes it work. He said that he was here. I said, I'm going to listen to you. And when I did, I'm going to put you guys in touch. That was awesome. I appreciate it, taking the time to talk about this new chapter here in Madison. And Andrew Benson, right? It's awesome. There are more guys on that crew as well. They are very excited to do well, and I'm just excited to be here. Yuri has been an incredible head coach, and I'm really happy to be here in UW Madison right now.
Yeah, as you should, as anyone should be that wants to get better and join a great place. So I can definitely reaffirm that from Cauli, reaffirm it from Matt, and for my time with Yuri, reaffirm it for him as well too. So Cauli, I appreciate it. Stay on a little bit after I shut off the recording, but everyone, Absolutely. Thank you for listening. If you like the episode, 5-star review, please. Spotify, YouTube, share it out, tag us. Message me what you like, what your favorite sentiment was, what your favorite story, and we'll be looking to get some more coaches on the podcast and share some more stories soon. So thanks for taking a swim with us, taking a dip, and live life daily. Thanks.